Admiral Jiho Kong stood at the observation deck of Nexus Prime, staring at the swirling colors of the nebula beyond. 15 years had passed since humanity first made contact with the Galactic Council. 15 years of proving themselves worthy. 15 years of fighting, bleeding, and dying for species that barely acknowledged their sacrifice. Today, all of that would change. The massive station hummed with activity. Aliens of every imaginable form moved through the corridors. Some walked on two legs like humans. Others floated, slithered, or skittered on multiple limbs. Jiho had learned to recognize most of them by now. The insectoid Vrex with their clicking mandibles. The towering reptilian Teldari with their golden scales. The gaseous Creven contained in their environmental suits. All of them were here for the ceremony. "Admiral, they're ready for us," Captain Hannah Park said, approaching from behind. She wore her dress uniform, medals gleaming on her chest. Each one represented a battle fought for the Council. Each one represented human blood spilled for aliens who barely thanked them. Jiho nodded and adjusted his own uniform. "How do you feel about today?" Hannah hesitated. She was his intelligence officer, his second in command, and one of the few people he trusted completely. "Honestly? Something feels wrong. I've been monitoring communications, and there are encrypted channels I can't access. Council members are talking, but they're keeping secrets." "They always keep secrets," Jiho replied, though her words troubled him. "We're the newcomers here. It takes time to earn complete trust." "Maybe," Hannah said. But she didn't sound convinced. They walked together through the pristine corridors of Nexus Prime. The station was beautiful in a cold, alien way. Everything was too smooth, too perfect. Humanity's ships and stations had character, personality. This place felt like a museum. Ambassador Yuna Lei was waiting for them in the preparation chamber. She looked nervous, smoothing down her formal robes repeatedly. "There you are. The ceremony starts in 10 minutes. The Council has assured me this will be unanimous. Humanity will become a core member today. Full voting rights. Full protection under Council law. Everything we've worked for." "Congratulations, Ambassador," Jiho said, bowing slightly. "You've done excellent work." Yuna smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "I hope so. I really do. But lately, I've felt like we're being watched more closely. Evaluated. Some of the counselors ask strange questions about our industrial capacity, our population growth, our military doctrines." "That's natural," Jiho assured her, though Hannah shot him a look. They want to understand their new partners. The ceremony hall was enormous, designed to accommodate the Council's many species. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, representing hundreds of worlds. At the center sat the High Arbiter, an ancient Rex named Vren. His compound eyes reflected light like jewels as he watched the humans enter. Beside him sat Counselor Malrix, leader of the Teldari Empire. The massive reptilian watched the humans with an expression Jiho couldn't quite read. Was it curiosity? Calculation? Something else? The ceremony began with formal declarations in dozens of languages. Translation devices rendered everything into perfect English for the human delegation. Speaker after speaker praised humanity's contributions. They mentioned the border wars, where human fleets had helped push back the Ravager hordes. They spoke of human technology, human bravery, human dedication to the common good. Jiho had fought in those wars. He'd lost good people, friends who would never see Earth again. He'd watched human ships burn while protecting alien worlds. Was it all worth it? He'd convinced himself it was. Humanity needed all eyes in this vast, dangerous galaxy. "The vote will now commence," High Arbiter Vren announced, his voice amplified throughout the hall. "All in favor of granting humanity core member status within the Galactic Council, signal now." Lights flickered across the chamber as each counselor registered their vote. Jiho held his breath. This was it. This was the moment humanity had been working toward since first contact. The vote is unanimous, Vren declared. Humanity is hereby recognized as a core member of the Galactic Council, with all rights and privileges therein. The hall erupted in what passed for applause among so many different species. Clicks, hums, whistles, and actual clapping mixed together in a strange symphony. Ambassador Yuna stepped forward to accept a glowing crystal, the symbol of core membership. Tears streamed down her face. Jiho felt a weight lift from his shoulders. They'd done it. Humanity had a seat at the table. They were protected now, partners rather than servants. His children's children would grow up in a safer galaxy because of this day. The celebration afterward was elaborate. Alien delicacies were served, though most of them made Jiho's stomach turn. He stuck to human food, brought specially for the occasion. Music from a dozen worlds played simultaneously, creating a bizarre but somehow pleasant harmony. "We should be proud," Yuna said, raising a glass of champagne. "Earth is celebrating right now. Every colony, every station. This is the greatest day in human history." Jiho raised his own glass, but his eyes found Hana across the room. She stood apart from the celebration, her face illuminated by her datapad. Even from here, he could see the concern in her expression. He excused himself and made his way to her. "What is it?" "I intercepted something," Hana said quietly, showing him her screen. "It's encrypted, but I caught fragments before they blocked my access." "Admiral, they're talking about containment protocols. About threat assessment. About us." "That could mean anything," Jiho said, but his gut twisted. "Maybe it's standard security procedure." "Maybe," Hana said. "But why encrypt it so heavily? And why now, right after they granted us core membership?" "Admiral, what if this is a trap?" Jiho looked around at the celebrating aliens. At Ambassador Yuna, smiling for the first time in months. At his officers, finally relaxed and happy. He thought about Earth, 20 light years away, celebrating this historic moment. "We'll investigate quietly," he decided. "But let's not ruin this day with paranoia. We've earned this, Hana. All of us have." Hana nodded, but didn't look convinced. She pocketed her datapad and returned to the celebration, though her smile was forced. Across the hall, Counselor Malrix watched the humans with unblinking reptilian eyes. In his hand, hidden from view, was a small device. On its screen was a single word in the Teldore language. Translated to English, it would read, "Initiated?" The trap was set. The humans suspected nothing. In 3 weeks, the human fleet would be exactly where the Council wanted them. And then, humanity's threat would be eliminated forever. But Malrix and his conspirators made one critical mistake. They assumed humanity would be caught completely by surprise. They assumed humanity had shown them everything. They assumed humanity trusted them. They were wrong on all counts. 3 weeks had passed since the ceremony at Nexus Prime. Admiral Jiho Kong stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, his flagship studying the tactical display with growing unease. The orders had come directly from the Council. Investigate distress signals in the Helios system. Simple enough. Except nothing about this felt simple. "Sir, we're approaching the jump point," Lieutenant Minho Choi reported from the tactical station. "All ships are ready to transition." Jiho looked at the display showing his fleet. 120 ships. Carriers, battleships, destroyers, frigates. It was the largest concentration of human military power outside the Sol system. Every captain in the fleet was experienced, battle-tested. They'd fought together in the border wars, learned to trust each other completely. "Where are the Council reinforcements?" Captain Hana Park asked, standing beside him. The distress signal indicated a major threat. We shouldn't be responding alone. Command says they're delayed, Jiho replied, though it bothered him too. We're to secure the system and wait for backup. Hana's jaw tightened. Since the ceremony, she'd been investigating those encrypted communications. She'd found nothing concrete, but the feeling that something was wrong had only grown stronger. Admiral, I recommend we proceed with extreme caution. This could be a trap, I know, Jiho interrupted quietly. I've been thinking the same thing. But we have our orders. If we refuse, we look weak, suspicious. We damage everything humanity has built with the Council. And if it is a trap, then we fight our way out, Jiho said grimly. Alert all ships. Battle stations, but keep weapons powered down. I don't want to start a war, but I want us ready if one starts. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, reality twisting around them as they crossed the light years in seconds. When they emerged in the Helios system, Jiho's worst fears began to materialize. The system was empty. No distress beacon. No disabled ships. No enemy forces. Nothing but stars and dead planets. Scan the entire system, Jiho ordered. Full spectrum. Find me something. Sir, I'm picking up spatial distortions, Minot said, his voice tight. Multiple points. They're jump signatures. Lots of them. Ships are about to arrive. How many? Hannah demanded. Hundreds, Minot whispered. Maybe thousands. Jiho's blood turned to ice. Battle stations. All ships. Defensive formation. Prepare for... Reality tore open around them. Council ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, surrounding the human fleet completely. Teldari dreadnoughts. Vrex carriers. Creven battle cruisers. Species from across the Council, all bearing weapons hot and aimed at the humans. They're hailing us, the communications officer said, her voice shaking. On screen, Jiho ordered. Counselor Malrix appeared, his reptilian features twisted in what might have been satisfaction. Admiral Kong, how kind of you to accept our invitation. What is the meaning of this? Jiho demanded, keeping his voice steady despite the rage building inside him. We're core members of the Council. This is an act of war. No, Malrix replied coldly. This is an act of survival. The Council has watched humanity for 15 years, Admiral. We've seen how fast you grow, how quickly you learn, how aggressive you are. Your population doubles every generation. Your technology advances faster than any species we've encountered. You fight with a creativity and ferocity that terrifies us. We've been loyal allies, Jiho said through gritted teeth. We bled for the Council. Yes, and that made you even more dangerous, Malrix continued. We studied you during those wars. Your tactics, your weapons, your willingness to sacrifice. We realized that in another 50 years, maybe less, humanity would be unstoppable. The border wars showed us what you're capable of. We couldn't let you become strong enough to threaten us. Hannah stepped forward, her face pale. The core membership. It was all lies. It was bait, Malrix confirmed. We needed your fleet concentrated and far from Earth. We needed you away from your reinforcements. And you came just as we planned. Now you have a choice. Surrender your ships, and you'll be allowed to live as prisoners. Resist, and we will destroy you all. Jiho looked at his tactical display. 5 Council ships for every human vessel. They'd been outplayed, outmaneuvered. His people had trusted the Council, and this was their reward. How long do I have to decide? He asked. You have 1 minute, Malrix said. Then the screen went dark. Hana grabbed his arm. Jiho, we can't surrender. If they wanted prisoners, they wouldn't have brought this much firepower. They mean to kill us all regardless. I know, Jiho said quietly. He opened a command channel to all ships. All captains, this is Admiral Kong. The Council has betrayed us. They mean to eliminate humanity's military power here and now, then move on to Earth. We have 1 minute before they attack. He paused, looking at the faces of his crew. Young people who trusted him, who trusted the Council. They deserved better than this. We're not going to surrender, he continued. And we're not all going to die here. Commander Sora Kim, your carrier group is closest to the exit vector. When I give the signal, you're going to punch a hole through their lines. The rest of us will cover your escape. Sir, I can't abandon, Commander Sora began. That's an order. Jiho barked. Somebody has to warn Earth. Somebody has to tell humanity what happened here. Sora, you're going home. You're going to make sure every human in the galaxy knows what the Council did to us. On her ship, the carrier Soul's Pride, Commander Sora Kim closed her eyes briefly. She understood. Someone had to survive. Someone had to bear witness. Understood, Admiral, she said quietly. We'll make them pay for this. I swear it. All ships, execute pattern Gamma 7, Jiho ordered. It was a desperation maneuver, designed to break through superior forces at catastrophic cost. They'd practiced it, but never thought they'd need it. The minute ended. Counselor Malrix's voice came over the open channel. Your time is up, Admiral. What is your answer? My answer, Jiho said coldly, is that humanity doesn't kneel. Fire. The human fleet erupted into action. Missiles streaked through space. Energy weapons carved through the darkness. The Council forces, caught slightly off guard by the immediate aggression, took precious seconds to respond. In space combat, seconds meant everything. Commander Sora's carrier group, 15 ships strong, accelerated directly toward the thinnest part of the Council line. Human destroyers threw themselves at Council battleships, like wolves attacking bears, buying time with their lives. Explosions bloomed across the battlefield, each one representing dozens or hundreds of human deaths. Jiho watched his fleet die around him. The destroyer Bison's Hammer, gone in a flash of light. The frigate squadron Guardian Wing, overwhelmed by Vrex fighters. The battleship Pacific Thunder, breaking in half as Teldari weapons tore through its armor, but they were doing damage too. Human weapons, designed with lessons learned from every Council species, found weak points. Human tactics, honed in countless battles, created chaos in the Council's neat formations. They were dying, but they were taking the enemy with them. Sora's through. Hana reported, her voice cracking. They've made the jump. Good, Jiho said. At least that. At least Earth would know. Admiral, we have 53 ships left, Minot reported. And they're not trying to capture us anymore. They're firing to kill. Then we fight to the last, Jiho replied. All ships, follow the Indomitable. We're going to cut a path through these bastards. But as he spoke, Hannah was working frantically at her station. Admiral, something's wrong. The FTL beacons are down. All of them. The Council disabled them. We can't call for reinforcements. No one even knows we're under attack. The full horror of the trap became clear. The Council hadn't just ambushed them. They'd isolated them completely. Earth wouldn't know what happened until it was too late. The Council would arrive at humanity's homeworld with overwhelming force, and there would be no warning, no preparation, unless someone got through. All power to engines, Jiho ordered. We're going to fight our way out of this system. Every ship that can jump, jumps. Everyone else, cover their escape. We're not letting the Council win this easily. For 3 hours, the battered remnants of humanity's frontier fleet fought with desperate courage. They used every trick, every tactic, every ounce of skill they possessed. And slowly, painfully, Ships began to escape the killing field when the Indomitable finally jumped clear with 29 other battered vessels. Jiho looked back at the Helios system. 91 ships lost, thousands of his people dead, all because humanity dared to believe in cooperation, in alliance, in peace among the stars. Set course for Earth, he ordered, his voice empty. Maximum speed. We have to warn them. The Council betrayed us, but they made one mistake. What's that? Hannah asked. They let some of us live, Jiho said, and his eyes were cold as space itself. They'll regret that. The soul arcology rose like a mountain of glass and steel, reaching into the clouds above what had once been South Korea. Now it was simply part of Earth, united under one government after the discovery of alien life had forced humanity to set aside its old divisions. In the command center at its heart, Fleet Admiral Tae-Yun Song stood before a holographic display of the solar system, waiting. The alert came at 0300 hours local time. Ships dropping out of hyperspace at the system's edge. Not the Council's invasion fleet, not yet. These were human ships, battered and burning, limping home. Get me Admiral Kong, Tae-Yun ordered immediately. Minutes later, Jiho's face appeared on screen. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 3 weeks. Burns covered half his face, and his eyes held the hollow look of someone who'd watched too many people die. Fleet Admiral, the Council has betrayed us, Jiho said without preamble. They ambushed us at Helios. We lost 91 ships. They mean to destroy humanity completely. Their main fleet will arrive within 48 hours. The command center erupted in shouts and curses, but Tae-Yun raised his hand for silence. He'd been waiting for something like this since the day humanity first met the Council. Not betrayal specifically, but something. In his experience, when something seemed too good to be true, it usually was. How many ships do they have? Tae-Yun asked calmly. Our best estimate is 3,000, Captain Hannah Park answered, appearing beside Jiho. Multiple species. This was planned for months, maybe years. They isolated us, destroyed our fleet, and now they're coming for Earth. Then we don't have much time, Tae-Yun said. He turned to his staff. Activate Protocol Midnight Sun. Authorization Song Omega 7. Wake up everyone. President Do-Yan Han arrived within 20 minutes, still fastening his formal jacket. Is it true? The Council is coming? Yes, Mr. President, Tae-Yun confirmed. They betrayed us at Helios. Admiral Kong barely escaped with 30 ships. The rest are dead or captured. Do-Yan's face went pale, then hard. How long do we have? 2 days at most. Can we evacuate? No time. And nowhere to go that they won't find us, Tae-Yun said. But we're not defenseless, Mr. President. Not by a long shot. He pulled up new displays, and the room fell silent. Where before there had been 400 registered human vessels, now there were thousands. Ships appearing on sensors all across the solar system, powering up from hidden bases in the Kuiper Belt, in the asteroid field, on the dark sides of moons. What am I looking at? Do-Yun whispered. The reason I've been requesting larger military budgets for 15 years, Tae-Yun said with grim satisfaction. Mr. President, we never trusted the Council completely. From day one, I've been building a reserve fleet in secret. Hidden shipyards, underground factories, automated construction facilities that the Council never knew about. Jiho stared at the display in shock. How many ships? 2,000, Tae-Yun replied. And they're not like the ones we showed the Council. These are warships built with everything we learned from every species we encountered. We studied Teldari armor and made it stronger. We analyzed Vrex weapons and made them faster. We examined Kreven shields and made them more efficient. The Council taught us how to fight them, and they never realized it. Colonel Narration, commander of Earth's Orbital Defense Network, stepped forward. Sir, I'm activating all defense platforms. Mars, Luna, the orbital rings, everything. We have 300 fixed installations, and every one of them is loaded with enough firepower to crack a moon. Do it, Taeyon ordered. I want Earth turned into the most heavily defended fortress in the galaxy. If they want our homeworld, they're going to pay for every meter of space. President Doyon looked at the fleet display, at the thousands of ships that shouldn't exist. You've been planning for this. For war with the Council. Not war specifically, Taeyon corrected. I was planning for the day when humanity would need to stand alone. The Council, the Ravagers, whatever threat emerged. I swore that Earth would never be helpless again. That no one would ever again have the power to simply wipe us out. He pulled up images from the Helios battle that Hannah had transmitted. Ships burning. Debris fields that had once been human vessels. Bodies floating in the void. They did this because they feared us, Taeyon said quietly. They feared what we might become. So they tried to kill us while we were still weak. But they made 3 mistakes. What mistakes? Jiho asked. First, they assumed we showed them everything. Second, they assumed we'd be easy to kill. Third, Taeyon's expression turned cold. They let some of you survive to warn us. Now we know they're coming, and we're ready. Over the next 48 hours, Earth transformed. Every combat-capable ship moved into position. Colony vessels became armed freighters. Civilian stations evacuated non-essential personnel. Factories switched to war production. Billions of humans watched the sky and waited. Captain Hannah Park coordinated intelligence gathering from the command center. Her team analyzed every piece of data from the Helios ambush, building profiles of council tactics, weaknesses, command structures. They fight by the book, she reported. Rigid formations. Predictable patterns. They've been dominant for so long that they've forgotten how to adapt. They'll expect us to do the same. Then we fight like humans, Taeyon said. Chaotic, unpredictable, creative. We use the terrain. We take risks. We make them afraid. Admiral Jiho Kong was given command of the Retribution Fleet, 200 of the newest, deadliest ships humanity had ever built. He stood on the bridge of his new flagship, also named Indomitable, and felt the power thrumming through its hull. This ship alone could have destroyed his entire old fleet. They think we're prey, he said to Hannah, who'd chosen to serve as his second-in-command again. They think they're apex predators coming to finish off wounded animals. They're about to learn that humans are the most dangerous prey in the galaxy. Hannah replied. Commander Sora Kim, who'd escaped the Helios massacre, was given command of a carrier group. When she saw the Soul's Pride reborn, a massive carrier bristling with weapons and fighter craft, she wept. Every ship in her group bore the name of a vessel lost at Helios. Bizen's Hammer, Pacific Thunder, Guardian Wing. The dead would be remembered. The dead would be avenged. President Doyon addressed the world from the Soul Arcology. His speech broadcast to every colony, every station, every human in the solar system. They came to our world 15 years ago, and we greeted them with open hands, he said. We offered friendship, alliance, peace. We fought beside them, died for them, and they repaid us with betrayal, with ambush, with murder. He paused, looking directly into the camera. Now they come to finish what they started, to destroy Earth, to eliminate humanity because they fear what we might become. But I say to the Council, to every species that thought we would be easy victims, you should have killed us all at Helios. You should have made sure, because the humans you let live have warned us. And now you're going to learn why you should have feared us all along. The broadcast ended. And across Earth, across Mars, across every human world and station, people stood ready. Civilians moved to shelters. Soldiers manned their posts. Ships powered their weapons. And above Earth, in the cold vacuum of space, Taiyun's armada waited in silence. Lieutenant Minji O, helm officer of the Indomitable, ran simulations constantly. She practiced maneuvers that should be impossible, pushing the new ship's capabilities to their limits. When the battle came, she would need every ounce of skill she possessed. Commander Hyun Beek led the stealth frigate squadrons, small, fast ships designed to strike from hiding. His crews were volunteers, people who'd lost family at Helios. They didn't want glory. They wanted blood. 40-7 hours after Jiho's warning, long-range sensors detected the Council fleet. 3,000 ships, just as estimated. They came confidently in parade formation, broadcasting humanity's surrender demands on all frequencies. Taiyun listened to Counselor Maurix's voice one final time. Humans of Earth, your frontier fleet is destroyed. You have no allies. You have no hope. Surrender now, and you will be allowed to live as a subject species. Refuse, and we will burn your world. Taiyun switched off the transmission and looked at his command staff. At Jiho, scarred but unbroken. At Nari, ready to unleash Earth's defenses. At Hana, whose intelligence would guide them. At the faces of everyone who'd worked in secret for 15 years to make this moment possible. All ships, this is Fleet Admiral Song. He broadcast on all human frequencies. They came here expecting sheep. Show them wolves. Show them why they should have left humanity alone. Show them what it means to threaten Earth. He took a breath and gave the order that would change galactic history. All hands, battle stations. Prepare to engage. Today, we teach the Council the cost of betrayal. The Council fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system in perfect formation. 3,000 ships, representing the combined military might of dozens of species. On the command dreadnought, Counselor Maurix surveyed his forces with satisfaction. The humans had 400 ships in their registry. Even if they'd somehow built more in secret, they couldn't match this armada. Advance to Earth, he ordered. Maintain formation. Broadcast surrender demands every hour. His fleet began the long journey toward the inner system. At their current speed, they would reach Earth in 3 days. Plenty of time for the humans to realize their situation was hopeless. Maurix expected them to surrender before the first shot was fired. Humans were reasonable creatures. They would see logic. He was wrong. The attack came when the Council fleet reached the Kuiper Belt. Commander Hyun Beek's stealth frigates struck from the darkness, peering on sensors for mere seconds before unleashing missiles and vanishing again. The rear elements of the Council formation took heavy damage before they even knew they were under attack. What was that? Maurix demanded. Where did those ships come from? Unknown, Counselor, his tactical officer replied. They're using some kind of stealth technology we've never seen. Our sensors barely detect them. Find them and destroy them. But Hyun's wolf packs were already gone, racing ahead to set up their next ambush. They'd studied Council sensors for years. They knew exactly how to stay invisible. And they were very, very angry. The Council fleet pressed forward, now on high alert. They entered the asteroid belt expecting more ambushes. What they got was worse. The asteroids themselves exploded. Thousands of hidden mines, placed over years of secret preparation, turned the belt into a death trap. Council ships dodged and weaved, but there were too many explosives. Dozens of vessels were crippled or destroyed. This is impossible, Maurix growled. How did they mine the entire belt without us knowing? We've been careless, his second-in-command admitted. We thought we were watching them. But they were planning for this all along. By the time the Council fleet cleared the belt, they'd lost over 100 ships. And they still hadn't seen the main human fleet. That changed at Jupiter Got Fleet. Admiral Taeyen Song had positioned his forces in Jupiter's orbit, using the massive planet's gravity well as both shield and weapon. When the Council fleet arrived, they found themselves facing not 400 human ships, but nearly 2,000. Impossible. Malrix shouted, "Where did they come from? Does it matter?" Taeyen replied over the open channel, "You came here to destroy us. Now try." The Battle of Jupiter was the largest space battle in recorded history. Human carriers, led by Commander Sora Kim, launched thousands of fighters. But these weren't the fighters the Council had seen before. These were faster, more maneuverable, equipped with weapons that punched through Council armor like paper. Admiral Geo Kong led the Retribution fleet in a bold maneuver, diving through the Council formation like a knife through silk. His ships moved with precision that seemed impossible, weaving between enemy vessels, targeting weak points with devastating accuracy. Lieutenant Minji-Oh, at the helm of the Indomitable, performed flying that would be taught in academies for generations. She dodged missile salvos by meters. She used Jupiter's moons as cover, whipping around them at speeds that made her crew's stomachs drop. She made the massive battleship dance like a fighter. How was she doing that? Min-Ho Choi shouted from Tactical. Those maneuvers should be impossible. She's been practicing, Ji-Ho replied calmly, watching as Minji spun the ship and brought their main guns to bear on Eteldari. Dreadnought, fire! The Dreadnought's shields collapsed under the barrage. Human weapons, improved and refined, cracked the Teldari armor and turned the ship into an expanding fireball. Captain Hannah Park coordinated the battle from her station, analyzing enemy patterns and feeding tactical data to every ship in the fleet. Council forces are trying to surround the carrier groups. Hyen hit their left flank. Sora, pull back and let them extend. The battle raged for 18 hours. Ships burned. Men and women died on both sides. But slowly, impossibly, the Council fleet was being pushed back. Human tactics, honed through centuries of warfare against each other, proved superior to the Council's rigid formations. Human creativity, that uniquely dangerous human trait, found solutions to problems the Council didn't know existed. Commander Hyen's frigates appeared and vanished like ghosts, striking supply ships and command vessels. Every time the Council tried to reorganize, Hyen disrupted them. Every time they tried to retreat, he cut off their escape. Commander Sora's fighters swarmed like angry bees. Council anti-fighter defenses, designed for slow, predictable attack patterns, couldn't track human pilots who flew like they were insane. Because many of them were. They remembered Helios. They remembered the ambush. They fought with the fury of vengeance. "We need to retreat," Malrix's second-in-command urged. "We've lost 400 ships. This was supposed to be an easy victory." "No," Malrix roared. "We commit everything. If we don't stop them here, if we don't break them now, they'll become unstoppable." He was right about that. But he was wrong to think he could still win. The Council fleet pushed forward with everything they had, and they ran straight into Earth's second line of defense. Mars defense platforms, hidden on the red planet's surface, rose and fired. Massive railguns, built over 15 years of secret construction, launched projectiles at relativistic speeds. Each shot hit with the force of a nuclear weapon. They militarized Mars. Malrix screamed. They turned an entire planet into a weapons platform. "They've been preparing for this," his tactical officer said quietly. "While we thought we were studying them, they were preparing to fight us. We walked into their trap." The Council fleet was now caught between the human armada behind them and Mars defenses ahead. They tried to split their forces, tried to fight on two fronts. It was the worst decision they could have made. Taeyeon saw the opening and took it. All ships full assault. Drive them apart. Don't let them reform. The human fleet surged forward. Jiho's retribution fleet carved through the council's center like a hot blade. Sora's carriers pressed from above. Hyon's frigates struck from below. And Mars kept firing, each shot destroying another council vessel. For 3 days, the battle consumed the space between Jupiter and Mars. It was brutal. It was desperate. Humans died by the thousands. Ships were crippled, burning, drifting. But the Council was dying faster. Colonel Narration, watching from Earth's Orbital Defense Command, saw the Council fleet beginning to fragment. They were trying to retreat, but there was nowhere to go. Human ships blocked every escape route. They're trying to break through to Earth, she reported to Taeyeon. About 500 ships. They're going to try a direct assault on the whole world. Let them come, Taeyeon said coldly. Luna, are you ready? On Earth's moon, massive batteries had been hidden in craters for 15 years. Now they revealed themselves. Hundreds of weapons, pointed at the approaching council ships. They fired simultaneously. The council ships that tried to reach Earth ran into a wall of fire. Luna's batteries, combined with Earth's orbital platforms, created a defensive net that nothing could penetrate. Ships that got through were picked off by Earth's defense fleet, fresh vessels that had been held in reserve for exactly this purpose. Malrix watched his fleet die around him. Of 3,000 ships, barely 1,000 remained combat effective. The humans had lost hundreds of their own, but they kept fighting with a ferocity that terrified him. These weren't the reasonable, cooperative humans he'd known. These were warriors who'd been betrayed, who'd been attacked in their own home. They fought like demons. Counselor, we must retreat, his second-in-command pleaded. If we stay, we'll lose everything. Malrix looked at Earth, hanging in space like a blue jewel. So close, so vulnerable. If only they'd struck faster. If only they'd been more thorough at Helios. Sound the retreat, he finally ordered. All ships, withdraw to Rally Point Beta. But Jiho had been waiting for this. They're running. All ships, pursue. Don't let them escape. The retreat became a rout. Organized withdrawal collapsed into panicked flight as human ships chased the Council fleet across the solar system. Every time Council ships tried to group for a jump to hyperspace, human forces scattered them. Every time they tried to make a stand, human tactics overwhelmed them. In the end, only 600 Council ships escaped Sol. The rest were destroyed, captured, or so damaged they had to surrender. The greatest armada ever assembled had been shattered by a species they'd thought weak. And Jiho's flagship, the Indomitable, had one specific target. Malrix's dreadnought tried to escape, but Minji's incredible flying kept pace. The two ships engaged in single combat while the battle raged around them. He betrayed us, Jiho said quietly, watching Malrix's ship on the view screen. He ambushed us. He killed thousands of my people. And he thought there wouldn't be consequences. The Indomitable's weapons fired. Malrix's shields collapsed. His armor cracked. And as his ship began to break apart, Jiho's final words to him were simple. You should have killed us all. Malrix's dreadnought exploded in a flash of light that could be seen from Earth. And across the solar system, the remnants of the Council fleet fled into hyperspace. Carrying the news that would change the galaxy forever, humanity had won. The debris field around Earth stretched for millions of kilometers. Pieces of ships, both human and alien, drifted in the silence of space. Recovery crews worked around the clock, pulling survivors from wrecked vessels, retrieving bodies for proper burial. Humanity had won the Battle of Sol, but the cost had been severe. 400 human ships destroyed. 80,000 dead. Earth's orbit was a graveyard, but humanity was not grieving. Humanity was angry. President Doyon Han stood before the United Earth Assembly, his face projected on screens across the solar system and beyond. Behind him was an image of the Helios massacre, of burning human ships and the Council forces that had ambushed them. They wanted to destroy us, he said, his voice carrying to billions of humans. They feared what we might become, so they tried to eliminate us while we were still weak. They invited us to join them, called us allies, and then stabbed us in the back. They killed thousands at Helios. They came to Seoul to finish the job. They failed. He paused, letting his words sink in. Now they're running, fleeing back to their worlds, hoping we'll be satisfied with defending our home. They're wrong. The Council declared war on humanity. They wanted total destruction. And that is exactly what they're going to get. The decision had already been made. Fleet Admiral Taeyeon Song had presented the plan, and the Assembly had voted unanimously. Humanity would not wait to be attacked again. Humanity would carry the war to the Council. We're not conquering worlds, Taeyeon explained to his command staff aboard the Orbital Fortress Unity Station. We're not occupying territory. We're systematically destroying the Council's ability to make war. Every military installation, every shipyard, every weapons facility, everything they used to attack us, we're going to turn to ash. Admiral Jiho Kong, his face still scarred from Helios, nodded grimly. Total destruction. Total destruction. Taeyeon confirmed. The human Armada, still numbering over 1,400 combat-effective ships, divided into strike forces. Each force had a target. Each force had a mission. And each force was commanded by someone who remembered what the Council had done. Commander Sora Kim led the assault on the Teldari shipyards. These massive orbital facilities had built the dreadnoughts that ambushed humanity at Helios. Sora's carrier groups jumped into the system, brushed aside the defending forces, and methodically destroyed every construction dock, every assembly line, every piece of infrastructure that made the Teldari military possible. This is for every ship that died at Helios, she broadcast on all frequencies as the shipyards burned. This is for every human who trusted you and died because of that trust. You wanted war. This is what war looks like. The Teldari tried to negotiate. They tried to surrender. Sora ignored them. Her orders were clear. Destroy the military infrastructure. She did exactly that. When her fleet left the system, the Teldari Empire's ability to build warships had been set back 50 years. Commander Hyan Beak took his stealth frigates deep into Vrex space. The insectoid Vrex had contributed hundreds of ships to the Council attack. Their hive fleets had been among the most aggressive at Helios. Hyan made them pay for it. His ships moved through Vrex territory like ghosts, striking fleet anchorages without warning. Vrex carriers, the pride of their military, were destroyed while docked. Admirals died in their sleep when Hyan's forces targeted command stations. Supply depots exploded. Communication hubs went dark. The Vrex sent everything they had to hunt Hyan's frigates. They never found them. But they kept finding their destroyed facilities, their ruined fleets, their dead. Captain Hannah Park led the intelligence operations, identifying targets and coordinating strikes. She'd spent 15 years studying every Council species. Now she used that knowledge to hurt them as efficiently as possible. The Crevan Dominion keeps their military reserves in the Tartus Nebula, she reported to Taeyeon. 700 ships, hidden in case of emergency. Send the Retribution fleet. Jiho's forces jumped into the nebula, found the hidden fleet, and destroyed it in 4 hours. The Crevan never had a chance to deploy their reserves. By the time they realized they were under attack, it was over. Lieutenant Minji O's incredible piloting skills became legendary across the fleet. She flew missions that other helmsmen said were suicide, pulling off maneuvers that seemed to violate physics. When the Council tried to fortify the Nexus Prime station, making it a defensive bastion, Minji flew the Indomitable through an asteroid field at combat speed, emerged right on top of the station's blind spot, and held position while Jiho's weapons reduced the orbital fortresses to rubble. "That woman flies like the ship is part of her body," Minho Choi said in awe. "I've never seen anything like it." "That's why she's the best," Jiho replied simply. The campaign lasted 3 months. Human strike forces hit 12 major systems simultaneously. Council species found themselves helpless as their military power was systematically dismantled. They tried to fight back, but human forces had learned every trick, every tactic, every weakness during the years of supposed cooperation. More importantly, humanity fought with a unity of purpose that the Council couldn't match. Every human ship, every human soldier, every human citizen understood what was at stake. The Council had tried to exterminate them. There could be no half measures in response. Individual Council species began breaking away, desperately trying to make separate peace. The Vrex Collective announced they were withdrawing from the Council and would accept any human terms. The Crevan Dominion did the same. Smaller species scrambled to distance themselves from the failed attack on Earth. The Council structure, built over thousands of years, collapsed in weeks. High Arbiter Vren, the ancient insectoid who had presided over humanity's false welcome, requested a meeting with human leadership. He came to Nexus Prime, now firmly under human control, and met with Fleet Admiral Taeyan Song in what had once been the Council chambers. "We made a mistake," Vren said through his translator. His compound eyes reflected fear. "Counselor Malrix convinced us that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to grow. We were wrong. We were terribly, terribly wrong. You tried to exterminate us," Taeyan replied coldly. "You ambushed us when we came in friendship. You killed thousands. Then you came to our homeworld to finish the job. And you're calling that a mistake?" "We were afraid of you," Vren admitted. "Humanity advances so fast. You fight so well. You never stop improving, growing, expanding. We thought that if we didn't stop you early, you'd eventually dominate the galaxy. And now?" Taeyan asked. "Now you will dominate the galaxy," Vren said quietly, "because we forced you to become what we feared. You were content to be our allies. We made you our conquerors." Taeyan considered this. The old insectoid wasn't wrong. Humanity had been happy to cooperate, to be part of something larger. The Council's betrayal had changed everything. It had taught humanity that they could trust no one but themselves. That mercy could be mistaken for weakness. That the only safety was overwhelming strength. "The Council is dissolved," Taeyan declared. "Effective immediately. No interstellar government will have authority over multiple species. Each world governs itself. That will lead to chaos," Vren protested. "Pirates, wars, suffering. Then you'll have to police yourselves," Taeyan said. "But if you can't, if things get bad enough, humanity will step in. Not as your partners. Not as your allies. As the strongest military force in the galaxy. We'll keep the peace because no one else can stop us." He leaned forward, his eyes hard. "Here are humanity's terms. The species that participated in the attack on us will pay reparations. Your military forces are limited to system defense only. No warships larger than cruiser class. No fleets larger than 100 vessels. We'll be watching, and if you violate these terms, we'll come back and finish what we started." "And what of the war criminals?" Vren asked. "Those who planned the ambush? They're being hunted," Taeyan said simply. "Every counselor who voted to attack humanity will face trial. Every admiral who commanded ships at Helios will answer for their crimes. You can surrender them to us, or we'll come take them. Your choice. Over the following weeks, Council officials surrendered or were captured. They stood trial aboard human vessels, judged by human courts, sentenced according to human law. Some received life imprisonment. Some received worse. Humanity was not cruel, but neither was it merciful to those who tried to genocide them. 6 months after the Battle of Seoul, Admiral Ji-Ho Kong stood at the observation deck of a human outpost near the former Nexus Prime. The station had been converted to a forward base, bristling with weapons, ready to deploy if any species decided to challenge humanity's new position. Captain Hannah Park joined him, looking out at the stars. "We won," she said quietly. "We destroyed the Council. We proved we're the strongest force in the galaxy. Why doesn't it feel better?" "Because we lost too much getting here," Ji-Ho replied. "Thousands dead at Helios. Thousands more at Seoul. We won, but the cost." He shook his head. "Do you think we did the right thing?" Hannah asked. "Destroying their military power? Making them afraid of us?" "They were already afraid of us," Ji-Ho said. "That's why they attacked. We just proved their fears were justified. Maybe it's better this way. Let them be too afraid to ever try again." Back on Earth, a monument was being built in orbit. A massive structure of steel and stone, bearing the names of every human who died at Helios, at Seoul, and in the campaigns that followed. At its center was a simple inscription in every known language. "They betrayed us. We survived. We will never forget. We will never forgive. And we will never again be anyone's victims." President Do-Yan Han attended the dedication ceremony, along with millions who'd lost loved ones in the war. As the monument was unveiled, he spoke one final time about what humanity had endured and what they'd become. "The Council tried to destroy us because they feared what we might become," he said. "They forced us to become exactly what they feared. We are now the dominant military power in known space. We didn't want this. We didn't seek it. But we will not shy away from it. The galaxy wanted to know what happens when you betray humanity. Now they know. Now everyone knows." He looked up at the monument, at the thousands upon thousands of names. "We remember the fallen. We honor their sacrifice. And we promise that their deaths were not in vain. Never again will humanity be weak. Never again will we trust blindly. Never again will anyone dare to attack us without knowing they face total destruction." The ceremony ended, but the message echoed across the galaxy. Humanity had been betrayed. Humanity had been attacked. Humanity had survived. And humanity had delivered exactly what the Council had feared: total destruction of those who threatened them. In the years that followed, the galaxy learned to live with this new reality. Humanity patrolled the space lanes, keeping peace through strength. Species that once looked down on humans now looked up to them with fear and respect. Trade flourished under human protection. Pirates vanished when human fleets appeared. Wars ended when humanity intervened. The Council's greatest fear had come true. Not because humanity was inherently aggressive or cruel, but because the Council itself had forced humanity to become strong, to become hard, to become willing to use overwhelming force to protect themselves. They had betrayed humanity, and humanity had made sure the entire galaxy learned the cost of that betrayal: total destruction.